Howdy, folks. We are back. We finished up, survived the Halloween.
Yes, we did. This is another episode of your favorite podcast, Reverent and Rebellious.
With Pat, Pete, and Logan.
Exactly.
Yep.
And we did finish our Halloween series, didn't we?
Man, I liked it. I thought it was good.
It was a lot of fun. And I saw a werewolf on my way down here tonight.
Did you?
I swear I did.
On double bridges?
Yeah, I've been seeing the weirdest things on that road. It actually probably wasn't a werewolf. It was a big, mangy looking black dog. But I was turning the corner and it was like, what is that? And then he just looked at me like,
a werewolf is better. Let's go with werewolf.
I like werewolf.
I mean, you've already seen the weird flashlight guy down there.
I know. Shapeshifter, whatever he was.
It's no telling what you're going to see.
Thing.
I know. Yeah. It's the truth. And he was just out there. He was not at all upset that I was there. Okay.
There you go. A typical werewolf.
There it is.
Hey, guys, hit that like button, hit subscribe.
Just do it now. Do it now. Don't just stop what you're doing and hit the button.
Yep.
Shout out to my buddy, Alan Shank, Army buddy. He commented on the page.
Yes, he did.
He asked if we would cover the Shroud of Turin.
And we definitely will.
I want to give you a shout out. Thank you for reaching out, buddy. Love you. How has your guys' week been?
It's been very, very interesting because I don't know if you guys have noticed, but I finished my first week of strength training.
Okay.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So
I thought you looked a little buff.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Shoulders were almost too broad to get in the doorway here.
Hey, look, speaking of my buddy Shank, he is the biggest, strongest, scariest guy I've ever met in my life.
Wow.
We called him Hulk. He's just huge. So there's a shameless plug for you, Alan.
There you go, man. Sounds like
that'll be me in a couple of weeks.
Yep.
Yes, give me a couple of weeks.
I'm stupid pumped. The Titans named Will Levis their starting quarterback.
Love it.
Mark Tremonti released his new amp today. It is out. The MT100 got me stupid pumped.
Speaking of him,
they're coming to Nashville. I'm gonna pay the $225 to get a 1-hour guitar lesson with them.
Wow.
I'm gonna do it.
Creed is doing a reunion tour.
Yeah,
Yeah.
They're coming to Nashville.
I'm pumped, man. I'm pumped.
I'm going.
Okay. All right. So we got a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah, it's been a good week.
See, I'm able to kind of breathe now.
Yeah.
Harvest is done,
Yeah.
so now I just got Traco work and stuff.
Yeah.
But that's not pressing as much.
You can call your own shots on that.
I can.
If you get up one day and you don't want to Traco, you don't have to go Traco.
That's right. I don't.
What about you, Peter? Has the church life slowed down?
Oh yeah, I only work 2 hours in a week anyway.
Yep.
I mean.
Yeah, we all complain about our seasons and stuff.
Yeah.
This guy's 365.
I just show up on Sunday for 2 services and then I go take a nap. It's nice work if you can get it, right?
Yeah.
So we are going to do a short mini series.
But first,
Dad,
you've got
Yes, I do. And I'm going to delve into musician jokes.
Okay.
Okay.
Sweet.
Yeah. Okay. So what's the difference between an onion and a banjo?
What?
Nobody cries when you cut up a banjo.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Preach it.
I do love a banjo.
I do not.
I do too.
You don't love a banjo?
No.
I had a banjo for a little while.
I'm glad you lost it.
I never was very good at it. Yeah.
Yeah. My mom sometimes watches this podcast, and she is an accordion player.
Nice.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. That's
back in the day, she won like a regional championship playing the accordion.
I feel like that's probably an instrument that doesn't get as much love these days.
Nirvana tried to give it some love.
Yeah.
Which song?
They played it on their Unplug album.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
She gets a little sensitive when I make accordion jokes, but I like to make accordion
So
jokes.
let's hear one.
Okay. Welcome to heaven. Here's your harp. Welcome to hell. Here's your accordion.
Nice.
or the definition of perfect pitch. You throw the accordion in the dumpster and don't hit the rim. Yeah. Okay.
Nice.
Does anybody utilize an accordion much?
Weird Al.
Actually,
that's true.
Actually, it saw a kind of a resurgence in the late 90s, early 2000s. John Cougar.
Yeah.
John Mellencamp.
Okay. Yeah.
He used an accordion quite a bit, and in the Americana kind of genre. And oh boy, there's this group called the Time Travelers, I think it is. kind of a country bluegrass-ish kind of. It's like a super group. They play in Nashville at the station usually every Monday night, and they have an accordion player. And this guy, you need to see him play sometime.
Tear it up.
It is absolutely mind-blowing.
I mean,
what this guy can do.
You have me right there. I've never in my life had someone come up to me and go, "Hey, have you heard of this accordion player?"
I know.
Yeah.
No, but I want to now.
But now you have to.
Yeah,
But there's a
watch.
part of me that I enjoy the obscure instruments.
I do too.
Yeah.
Like there's just something about it. It's like when somebody can tear up a kind of a foreign instrument, I'm like, that's pretty cool.
The kazoo player.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, that one. So I got a million musician jokes. I'll unleash some more on future episodes.
All right, sounds good.
That'll be good. Okay, so
What are we talking about?
We are going to do a little 2-part mini-series on extraterrestrial beings,
What
aliens.
in the world is an extraterrestrial?
Oh, no.
I don't know if I thought I was super pumped for the Halloween stuff.
Yeah.
I might be more pumped for this.
Yeah,
This is going to be good.
Everybody at some point has the alien conversation.
Absolutely.
You know,
you got to.
everybody at some point
see,
does.
I don't know that my wife did, and I have basically forced her hand because
There
I'm
you go.
like, I just have harped on her about aliens for so long, and she's like, and she thinks it's so stupid,
Yeah.
but like. Due to recent things, I'm finally like, you gotta kind of listen a little bit. And
Well, and
she's coming
also
around.
I've also sort of been confronted with the question: are we really that arrogant that we believe we're the only ones in the whole universe?
Yeah.
That's when you ask them, well, are you that arrogant? Think you're the only one who believes that in this conversation?
That is how I've heard it phrased.
Okay, so what's your personal view? Well, no, I know your personal view. You think there's a whole bunch of them out there, don't you?
I just, typical me, like I want to just see them.
Yes.
They're out there. I want to
Exactly.
encounter one on Double Bridges.
Yeah.
Double Bridges is going to be like the most haunted extraterrestrial place on
We're gonna
Tipton
have-
County's going to avoid that road.
We're going to have pilgrims come to visit
Yes.
Double Bridges by the time this.
We are. Yeah, we're gonna make that road famous. No, I mean, so I'm gonna avoid any spoilers for the second part.
Yes.
So I'll tell you my long held thoughts on aliens.
Okay.
And again, for people listening, you got to hear my conclusion of that. You got to watch the
That's
next
right.
episode.
Yeah.
But I struggle with this for a long time because kind of the same way with the ghosts and everything else. There's a part of me it's like it'd just be kind of cool. Like I think I want to believe in aliens because I think it'd be kind of cool.
Yeah. What if they brought out the probe though?
Yeah, I don't want to be anywhere near the probe. That's what definitely don't want to be that. And I'm like, do I really want them to be there? Because I have seen signs. I've seen War of the Worlds, but I would say probably my old way of viewing it would have been the your typical alien looking dude kind of.
Yeah.
I don't know if he'd be the little skinny green guy, but
Bald head,
but
bulging
Yeah.
eyes. Yeah.
maybe Mars Attacks with a huge brain and a thing like. Yeah.
It's weird because you got that one, but then you got Ridley Scott and James Cameron over here, like these hybrid lizard
Yeah.
things.
Yeah. Now,
District 9 aliens was pretty terrifying. Yeah.
Yep.
So what's your personal feeling?
I have zero experience,
Yeah.
but
You've not been probed by aliens.
I don't know. But no, I have zero experience with aliens, never seen anything in the sky, anything like that. But I have heard a lot of people that, without a doubt, believe they have seen it.
Yeah.
And they were convinced enough for me to question it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay. So, and I'm kind of in the same boat.
I was gonna say, what are yours?
I don't have any anecdotal experiences of any kind.
Yeah.
I've seen, I've seen Joe Bob from the trailer park, and he's, at the burn spot in the ground, and most of the time I just blow it off like, there's got to be some sort of, natural explanation for those things. But, as I've kind of gotten, I don't know, into it a little bit, just sort of investigating a little bit, you can look past the little sensational kind of, fake stories and things like that. And you hear things and you sort of start to look around and you think, actually, I don't see any reason why there couldn't be.
Yeah.
Because like I say, the universe is huge. But Pat, you made a very good observation before we started that if we feel like they're from another solar system,
Yeah.
It would take what?
The nearest solar system that's possible.
Now explain this like we're 5.
Yeah.
Okay, so the nearest solar system to us that is even remotely possible of having life,
Right.
that's even feasible. We have no idea if it's beyond feasible.
Yeah.
But it is 25 light years away. That is 25,000 year journey.
Yeah.
If you were traveling at the speed of light, that's how long it would take to get here. That is the Stone Age till today.
So maybe they started a long time ago and they're just now getting here.
Right? Like, but I feel like they would have to start with a canoe and then end up with like Star Trek.
I don't know. I don't know. But this is kind of the interesting thing about it. Now, in today's episode, we're just going to talk about the possible existence of extraterrestrials and the implications that it would have.
Right.
Now, next week, we're going to tear the whole thing apart. We're going to get into sightings and we're going to get into, the flying objects and all the stuff, all the new evidence that's coming out that is really kind of creepy.
Well, and that's what I was going to say. Like, I know there's plenty of people out there still that are going to be like, this is crazy.
I know.
But I'm like, look, hang in there with us, because some of the stuff that will bust out in the next episode, I mean, it makes it where most everybody that I've talked to about it is like, that's pretty odd. Like, it makes your gears turn.
For the viewers and listeners, if you haven't learned by now, if you've been following the podcast, what we will do is we will entertain any viewpoint that comes at us, because guaranteed someone has this viewpoint some way, shape, and form, and we want to talk from your side as well.
Yeah.
And, we call this podcast Reverent and Rebellious. So we have to have the reverent side, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
Because some of the topics are a little, we want to talk about things that are controversial. We want to kind of, break apart, preconceived notions and things that we believe just because of our tradition. And this is one of them that, the more you kind of look into it, even from a spiritual or a Christian standpoint, you start to see some very interesting things develop.
And I think a lot of people wonder about this, because
Yeah,
it has become a thing where there's so much stuff going on that, I mean, a lot of Christians are like, okay, what does this mean for my faith? Like,
I know.
So it's very relevant to talk about.
Okay, so let's just go through a couple of things real quick. Hebrews 1:2. Okay, it says, Hebrews 1:2 says, in these last days, he has spoken to us in his Son. He sets this up by saying, God spoke long ago to the fathers in the prophets and in many portions and in many ways. But in these last days, he has spoken to us in his Son, Jesus, whom he appointed heir of all things. Listen to this, through whom also he made the world. Okay. That is the word ionos.
Which one?
World.
Okay.
And it actually is a plural word.
Ages?
Yeah, and actually, technically, it just means worlds.
Okay.
Through whom he made the worlds. How many worlds are there?
Sounds like a lot.
Well, there might be more than one. That's the whole thing. Hebrews 11:3.
8 or 9, depending on what you qualify.
That's right. Hebrews 11:3. By faith, we understand that the worlds were prepared by the word of God, so that what is seen was not made out of things which are visible.
Again, with the
So
plural.
what is the opposite of visible?
Invisible.
Oh, things we can't see.
Things we can't see.
Well, how do we explain those things?
I don't know.
Well, and
That's the end of the podcast. We don't know.
Thank y'all for coming. All right.
The message says worlds.
Yes.
He uses world.
Yeah.
No, wait a minute. Sorry, that's words. Man,
Oh, okay.
dang.
Words are hard.
Hold on, let me see. That was Hebrews 1:2.
And 11:3.
He actually kind of dropped the ball here. He says the world.
The world.
God created the world.
You see, and the way that I have seen it explained is, every now and then a plural Greek word could just kind of find its way into a sentence, and it may or may not, be directly translated but you can, and maybe you should translate it in the plural.
Yeah.
So all I'm saying is, it's not out of the realm of possibility. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah.
It doesn't point to anything in particular, but the early Christian theologians from the 1st and 2nd century really had no problem with this concept.
I would say at the bare minimum, it's open for interpretation.
Absolutely.
Hey, the Lord's version, KJV says
right.
worlds.
Oh, there you go.
There you go. Yep.
Way to go, King James.
Yeah.
All right.
By whom also he made the worlds.
The worlds.
He
There you
hath
go.
appointed.
Yeah, there you go.
Yep.
So it wasn't until good old Plato came along.
Okay.
Good old logical thinking Plato. That,
Mr. Philosophizer.
And, you know, those that came, that were kind of his contemporaries or came after, you know, Augustine, you know, people like that, they started really, really thinking like Plato.
Right.
Yeah.
And then, of course, later on, in the late 1800s, we started the Age of Enlightenment, and everything was about reason. And it was unreasonable to imagine, especially in Christian world. You know, it's unreasonable to imagine that there was life anywhere else but only on the earth. You know, but over the years, people have pointed to certain scriptures and said, "Oh, that must be aliens."
Yeah.
Right. So the most popular one is in Ezekiel 1. In Ezekiel 1, Ezekiel starts out his whole prophecy with this big vision. He says in verse 4, he says, "I looked, behold, a storm wind was coming from the north, a great cloud with fire flashing forth continually, and a bright light around it, and in its midst something like a glowing metal in the midst of the fire." So there you go. There's flying saucer right there, right? Yeah.
Yep.
And within it there were figures resembling 4 living beings, and this was their appearance. They had human form. Each of them had 4 faces and 4 wings, and their legs were straight, and their feet were like a calf's hoof, and they gleamed like burnished bronze.
Spacesuits.
Under their wings, on their 4 sides, were human hands. As for the faces and wings of the 4 of them, their wings touched one another. Their faces did not turn when they moved. Each went straight forward. It goes on. But then he talks about in the midst of the living beings, there was something that looked like burning coals of fire, like torches darting back and forth among the living beings. The fire was bright, the lightning was flashing from the fire. And then it talks about the living beings ran to and fro like bolts of lightning. Yeah, speed of light.
Very fast.
Yes, exactly. And as I looked, the living beings, behold, there was one wheel on the earth beside the living beings for each of the 4 of them. So 4 wheels. Here we go. The appearance of the wheels and their workmanship was like sparkling beryl, and all 4 of them had the same form. Their appearance and workmanship being as if one wheel were within another. Wheel within a wheel. Whenever they moved in any of their 4 directions without turning as they moved. And it keeps going. And then it said in verse 22, now over the heads of the living beings, there was something like an expanse, like the awesome gleam of crystal extended over their heads. And he continues on. It glowing metal that looked like fire all around within it. And it's like, okay, there you go. That's a spaceship, right? Except for, as my buddy Michael Heiser would say, actually, you know, it appears that Ezekiel is trying to describe something that he's never seen before, that he doesn't know anything about.
Yeah.
Yeah, and apparently aliens don't have necks.
Right. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Right. But here's the problem: is each one of these parts of the vision are ancient Babylonian symbols.
Yep.
So it turns out he actually did know exactly what he was looking at.
Yeah.
And he's just describing something in the terms that they could understand.
So this isn't this also the verse that they use? Some people that try to basically doomsday clock it.
Yep.
They say this is the helicopters coming in.
Yeah. And we'll get to that one too. That in Revelation 9. Yeah. But yes, they connect this with doomsday and end times and everything.
Yeah.
But here's where it all comes full circle in verse 28. And it says, as the appearance of the rainbow in the clouds on a rainy day, so was the appearance of the surrounding radiance. Such was the appearance of the likeness of what?
God.
The glory of the
glory
Lord.
of God.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it kind of was like, oh yeah, it was aliens, and then it's not aliens.
Yeah.
It turns out it's just the glory
It's
of
just
God.
God.
Yeah, it's just God.
When it gets to describing the crazy, like wild stuff in there,
Yeah.
I just always go back to one of my favorite. I've mentioned it on here several times. When it talks about when Jesus comes down in the blood-soaked robe and the sword's coming out of his mouth, I'm like,
It's
dude,
very metal.
It is. It is. So I'm like, my mind, when I read that, as much of a fan of the alien thing as I am, I just don't think aliens.
Right.
It's almost like I don't know. Like, I'm just like, this doesn't, I guess I've read Revelation too. So I'm kind of like, meh, I don't think it's aliens.
I know. And then another reference is in 2 Kings 9 when Elijah is taken up into heaven. It says, as they were going along and talking, behold, there appeared a chariot of fire and horses of fire, which separated the two of them, and Elijah went up by a whirlwind to heaven. Okay, so a spaceship came down and got Elijah and took him to outer space. The only problem is Elijah never gets in the chariot. He never rides the chariot. He's taken up in a whirlwind.
Yep.
So that one's kind of gone away too.
Yeah.
And then of course we get to that Revelation 9 thing where we see these locusts. Out of the smoke came forth locusts upon the earth, and power was given them as scorpions of the earth have power. We talked about that in one of our underworld kind of, I don't remember which one it was, demons or something like that. I don't get aliens out of that one either. No. And I don't get Apache helicopters
I was going to say, that's what everybody claims, or not everybody, but the doomsdayers claim that, oh man, that's the helicopters.
There it is right there. It's the helicopters. The only problem is helicopters are like ancient technology by now. It's like we kind of still use them, but we got drones now.
They got something a lot better than helicopters.
And also, too, spoiler alert, everything written in Scripture was written to their audience.
Yes,
and he's not going to tell them
you
about
mean
something.
They didn't have helicopters back then?
That's right.
That's why they say locusts, because they didn't know about
there
helicopters.
You go.
They're seeing helicopters, and the only picture in their mind is
context is for our times.
Yeah,
it's not about them. It's about us.
Exactly right. Yeah. They wouldn't have mean. That's the funny thing about Revelation. It's like, here you got the Christian church, Roman rule. They're being persecuted. They're fearing for their lives. They're huddled in corners. They're weeping. They're afraid for their lives. And John's going like, here's this vision that I saw. You need to read this immediately and don't change a word of it, because it's about something that's going to happen 900 years from now. And they're going like, what do we need this for?
Yeah.
So this is what. I'm sorry, this is the vision I got in my head.
Yeah.
The church is in all this chaos, and John's writing, and he goes, quick, get to the chopper! That's what's going on.
Yes, he had his Arnold moment.
Yeah,
yep.
Got it.
Okay, so
I did want to touch on the Book of Enoch.
Yes, go ahead.
So I had kind of asked our friendly AI about the Book of Enoch one. And Ancient Aliens, I'll throw them credit because they did mention that. But so the Book of Enoch, obviously part of the Apocrypha. I'm not saying this is scripture.
That's right. That's
extra biblical.
It's scripture adjacent.
But the point that a lot of people look at in the Book of Enoch, it describes entities called Watchers who descend to Earth and interact with humans and provide knowledge.
Yes. They're the ones that help Russell Crowe, right?
Yeah, yes, that's the big people or whatever.
Yeah.
Some people have drawn parallels between these beings and the concept of extraterrestrial life, suggesting that they might be interpreted as aliens. It says, however, it's important to understand the Book of Enoch is a religious and mythological text. Descriptions of these beings are rooted in ancient cosmology and belief systems rather than modern concepts of extraterrestrials.
That is true. And by the way, the term watcher is really just another word for Elohim.
Yeah. And
Sons of God.
See, if we had not done if we had not covered what I already had, I would have been more like, oh man, that's really interesting.
Yeah.
Now I'm like, well, it's just the Elohim.
Yeah.
I'm like,
same word, turd. Don't try to change it on me.
Yeah.
Don't try to church it up.
Yep.
Genesis 6. Go ahead and back and read that if you missed it. And
and see, that's one of the ones AI threw out. Genesis 6:4 says the mention of the sons of God has led to various interpretations, including the idea that there could be aliens.
Yep.
Yeah.
Or angels, it says.
Yeah.
So
it's the Elohim. It's the divine council.
Yep.
Yep. And so where does that leave us? It leaves us from a biblical and a spiritual and a scriptural kind of viewpoint. It leaves us with the distinct possibility that extraterrestrial beings could exist.
Yeah.
But with no hard proof that they do, which is okay.
Yeah.
That's not a bad place to be.
That's the story of our life.
Yeah, because we're not gonna exclude this
Right.
from our consciousness or from the possibilities, but we're also not going to, just come out and make some weird claims that are not true.
Right.
So here's where I want to get to, though. I want to talk a little bit about some of the narratives on one side or the other in Christian world about whether or not we should entertain the possibility of extraterrestrial beings, or whether we just debunk it, just push it off to the side. And there's one school of thought that says, so first question, Pat, if we had hard evidence tomorrow that there's an alien on the Earth, on the planet, he said hello, he's in the, exactly, yeah. So now we know for sure. How does that impact your Christian faith and your theology and the way that you read Scripture and all those kinds of things?
Personally, I don't think it would affect me at all. Dinosaurs aren't mentioned in Scripture, but we know they existed. Cars aren't in Scripture, but they exist. Just something new happening. For me, it's
but now here we are. It's a being. It's a
does it have
creature.
a soul? It would be one thing I wonder.
See, I do believe it would change the face of the modern church, though, because now we have to take apart Scripture, and I know how a lot of people are. Whatever the new fad is, we got to find it in Scripture.
Yeah,
and we're gonna make it be where it's not. I know that's might be controversial, but it's very true.
Okay, so are you going to share the gospel with the new alien?
Well, it's funny. My mind was actually just going like, you think about at a church how some people have a hard time welcoming new people in. I'm like, boy, had a real hard time when that green little
Could
dude
you
shows
imagine
up.
E.T. walking in Holly Grove?
Oh my God!
Sunday morning.
I mean, I think we're a pretty welcoming church, but I mean, I don't know. That alien might be kind of crossing.
I mean, it's like, do you drink coffee?
Yeah.
Cupcake?
Make him sit next to Debbie.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. So, do you think where I think about with aliens? I'm like, okay, if they're real. For me, I don't think it would really, I honestly don't think it'd bother my faith. I would just wonder things. Like, I'd be like, do they have a soul?
Right.
I would definitely be trying to have conversation.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, but so here's another angle on this, though. If the alien made it all the way to planet Earth and stand in our neighborhood, don't you think that creature would obviously have to have an intelligence that is superior to ours?
Sure.
To get here, yeah, I would say so.
All right. So now we're dealing with this super intelligence that knows more than we've ever known.
Yeah, that's where we do the American thing. If it doesn't cooperate, we'll just kill it.
How do you kill an alien?
You shoot it.
Are you sure about that?
No, but that's the first thing we're gonna
I
try.
was going to say, that's always the go-to out the gate.
It worked
like-
for the Space Marines and aliens.
Yeah. I mean, you just hold up some garlic and say, how you feel about this?
Yeah. Yeah. If that doesn't stop it.
real slick tested. Do you want some pizza?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to whip out my silver fork.
Go down the line of different kill methods. The gun, that'll be the last.
Okay.
Yeah, I probably shouldn't open with
That's
that.
a good way to welcome an alien.
Hey!
Yeah.
How is it that you die?
Yeah.
let us know.
if your mortality was
Yeah.
brought to question.
Oh,
Hey,
my
welcome
gosh.
to Earth. What's your death cause?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Okay, it's here. It's super intelligent.
okay. So some people would say then, if an alien is real, and then the whole Bible is basically debunked. It's like it's irrelevant from here on out.
Yeah.
Because the Bible doesn't mention the possibility of any aliens directly. And now we got we've got a whole creation narrative. We got a flood narrative. We've got a gospel narrative that God created, and if there's an alien sitting right there, God has to have created it, right?
Yeah.
So, do you think if an alien was to come, confirmed, feet on the ground, there, do you think a lot of people would go, "That's God"?
I don't know.
That's
I'm sure some people would.
Maybe some people would. Yeah,
I know
because-
of a fella I was telling y'all about
Yeah.
off air that'd be like, "This is it. This
Yep.
confirms it."
Father.
Yes. Yeah.
What if you said, "Ask your mother"?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, it would raise a lot of questions.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
It
I mean,
really
I
would.
know some very strong Christians that have told me that they would have a serious problem. Like it would really rattle their faith if
Yeah.
aliens were confirmed.
For sure. And another part of this myth is then that it would lead to proving random, undirected, godless evolution.
Just meaning, are they implying like the aliens were kind of just this random evolution?
Like God can't really exist then. We're just all random because now here's this non-human creature.
Yeah.
So like our whole hierarchy of belief and faith and everything else like that is just shattered. Now we're
Gotcha.
all down to,
See,
we just evolved out of something.
now I'm curious because I'm pretty bullheaded. In the comments, put what you would do if there was confirmed aliens
Yes.
found. How would
Yeah.
it affect your faith? I'm curious.
We're not
I am
going to
too.
judge you if you
Yeah.
like. We
No.
want you to comment. Like if it would kind of rattle you, tell us it would rattle.
Yeah,
you.
it
Like,
can't be any worse than my first instinct was shoot it.
Yeah.
So I mean,
Yeah.
Well, we're kind of sharing the
Yeah.
same wavelength there.
Welcome to planet Earth. Boom.
Yes.
Yeah.
don't
Especially
you
the
landed
South.
in Tennessee of
I was
all
gonna say,
places.
you shouldn't have picked one of the reddest states to land
Land
in.
in California.
Yeah.
So here's the other. Here's why people would kind of feel like our faith system is blown up, because we believe as Christians that we are made not only in the image of God, but as
the
the
image
we
of God.
are the image of God in God's temple, which is the planet Earth, which is under our
Yep.
dominion. Okay,
Yeah.
we're in charge of taking care of it. Okay, so now that's not the image of God, is it?
I don't know. Would we be qualifying as an animal?
See, that was what I was going to say. What about if they're technically an animal?
I mean, they put monkeys in a spaceship, don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure do.
That.
But what if it has like eyes and hands and it has some sort of speech and it?
Well, I mean, gorillas are almost there.
Well, yeah, but
They can sign.
but they're not that intelligent.
That's true. That's true.
I mean, we got a super intelligent being with all of the kind of human-ish kind of faculties.
See, that's very interesting. Well, okay. Well, what does an alien look like?
I don't know.
Yeah. What if they look like some of the depictions I've seen? I would classify them as an animal.
Because I mean, we might be
But-
kind of let down if all of a sudden we just see this alien spaceship come in, land, and then like Uncle Bob comes out. And
Yeah, I
it's
know.
like, hey guys, I'm from 5 galaxies away.
Yeah.
He's like, can you speak English?
Yeah,
Weird.
roll tide.
Yeah, right. Yeah, leave. We got enough of y'all.
You landed in the wrong spot.
Yeah.
So what do you think would be? Do you think there could be the possibility? Let's say that did happen. They come in and they look like we do. They look just like us. Do you think there's a chance God was like, I'm gonna experiment over here too?
I don't know. Maybe God just saying, I'm just going to mess with you guys really bad.
Because I mean, traditionally, aliens throughout history have been humanoid.
Yeah.
They've been short, big eyes, but they've
Yeah.
been very human-like.
Right, exactly. Because that's probably what we conceive.
Yeah.
But once again, if it's in the universe, then God created it.
Yeah.
That's right. Well, I mean, per our theology, God created everything.
Exactly.
So if it exists, God made it.
And so if God didn't create it, then our whole theology's out the window.
That's right.
Now let me throw something wild out. Now this may, I don't think that this is, but I'll just throw this out there.
Okay.
So what would be the possibility of something like the Nephilim or somebody creating something like this? Is there any possibility that they could do something like that?
The divine council, Elohim, sons of God, cannot create anything. They are created beings themselves.
Gotcha.
They can have offspring,
Yeah.
which is what happened.
Giants.
They shapeshifted into humans and had offspring, which is where the giants came from. Which we believe that the flood wiped the giants out, and the Israelites wiped the rest of the giants out, and so their disembodied spirits are now demons. That's kind of how we make everything work together.
So maybe the disembodied spirits hijacked some flight manuals.
Maybe, or maybe Elohim shapeshifted into some sort of alien creature?
Could be.
I mean, and this is where honestly some Christians, even pretty high powered theologians, will just land on the fact that any kind of alien being would be a demonic.
Yeah.
You just put it all in that category, seal it up.
Well,
that's a demon.
Okay,
Yeah.
but if we're talking about the unseen realm and spiritual beings, I mean, Hebrews says we've entertained angels without knowing it.
I know.
And they're spirit beings. So is there possibly to say there's heavenly aliens and demonic aliens?
Well, see that now you're kind of getting in the weeds a little bit too, because I mean, I don't know.
But an angel wouldn't shapeshift to be an alien, though, would they?
I wouldn't think so.
Yeah.
I mean,
from the biblical descriptions of them, they look pretty alien without having to look like an alien.
That's true.
If I saw
would you call it an alien?
Yeah, I was going to say, if I saw a biblical angel, I'd probably be like, good gosh, that is an alien.
That's why the angel always starts with,
do not be afraid.
And they all fall as dead men like Hulk.
Yes.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
But, most of the time we see angels in Scripture, we see them taking on human form, but in a glorified sort of way. White robes.
If one decided to just use its like revelation depiction or whatever to me, or then something like that, I'd be like, okay, this is definitely not from this planet.
Yeah, because we definitely see like Jacob's like, you want to wrestle?
Yeah.
So like they can't be. I don't know. So it does give precedence that maybe they appear in different forms.
Okay.
The demonic aspect of it, I could see, especially because they want to strike fear.
Right. That's exactly right.
But again, I'm trying to avoid that one for the second episode.
Yeah.
Well, yes. And we'll definitely get there.
Yeah.
But let's keep it in the physical realm. Let's just say that they have a home already, and it's on another planet somewhere else in the
Xenon.
universe. Yeah, exactly.
Good pool.
Yeah, I love it. And they've come here. They finally arrived, and here they are.
Yeah.
So, how does this then play into, or mesh with, or even fit into our paradigm that we are the image of God? So, what image are they?
Well, they got to be the image of God, don't they?
What qualifies us as the image of God? I mean, what qualities do we have that put us in that category?
I mean, dashingly good looking.
Of course, absolutely. I mean, just look at us. I mean, some people would say because we have intelligence, that we're the image of God, that we have a soul, that we have consciousness, or what some would say sentience, that we can think for ourselves, that kind of thing. But actually, none of those things in and of themselves qualify us as the image of God, because animals have intelligence, and just the fact that we have a soul doesn't necessarily make us the image of God. It makes us kind of it is
that little essence.
It's because we are made to be like God. So we have a divine component that was either severely diminished or almost lost completely at the fall of man. With sin and the fall of the world, decline of the world, all those kinds of things. But I
would even venture to say that it's deteriorated ever since, worse and worse.
Absolutely. It's on a downward trajectory, just like all creation. Yeah. But you remember in our very first theology class, you were there, we talked about faith.
Yeah.
And so we talked about that there's a divine remembrance. That there is a nostalgia inside of us.
You remember it, but you don't know how you remember it.
That's exactly right. It's just back in your consciousness somewhere. That is the quality that makes us the image of God.
Okay.
It's that divine something. And so now we got an alien. Does that alien have that divine?
Well, maybe that's what brought him to the earth.
I don't know.
Or it, or whatever its pronouns are. I don't know what alien is. But.
So then that brings us to the next sort of problem. We've got
we got a lot of problems.
We got a lot of problems.
We still got more.
I feel like have we answered the previous problem?
It's all coming to we're going to kind of answer all of it at the same time, to the best of our ability. But that's the whole thing. Is like it's like God's asking us, hey, do you believe in aliens? We'll go, yeah, for sure. And then God's saying, have you really thought this through? Have you really considered the implications?
Yeah.
And so the final one is, this is my buddy Larry Norman's quandary.
Oh, man, Larry.
The atonement. The atonement. So this has actually caused, if you go back to early American history, Thomas Paine, you remember Thomas Paine, atheist, very, very anti-Christian. And he said that, trying to make Christianity look ridiculous. And he said, but if there were aliens all over the universe, then your Jesus would have to go around and die on every planet, because, that God created them all, right? And that's kind of the way we think about it. And the famous lyrics to Larry Norman's song UFO.
And so you got to listen to it.
You got to quote it, Peter.
Look it up on YouTube. Larry Norman, UFO. If there's life on other planets, then I'm sure that he must know. And he's been there once already and has died to save their soul. Yeah.
You need the fade or whatever they are.
The phase shifter, yeah. So how do we deal with this atonement thing? Does Jesus have to go out and die, more than once?
It's universal. We'll call it cross universe.
Okay. All right. That's convenient.
That's really probably what I'd say. Because if it's not, then it would get kind of ridiculous.
Because here you go. It even covered the people in Sheol.
Well, yes and no. Didn't cover everybody.
But no.
He didn't release everybody.
If the alien was a sinner, he ain't gonna make the cut.
See, but that's how does the alien know if he's sinned or not?
Oh, even creation, man. Creation will cry out. He had to have seen like Marvin the Martian out there.
What if he's from a planet that never fell?
Well, ain't
it's
that
still
heaven?
Perfect there. Maybe it is.
Maybe he just showed up and go, ha, 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 ha.
Maybe we're all going to the planet Xenon when we die.
Tom Cruise?
That's the new Earth, Xenon.
Yeah. I mean, that, what kind of consciousness, we know what kind of intelligence, or we think we know. They have to be very sophisticated, but sin consciousness, good,
see, that's
evil.
what I don't know.
And think about it. I bet they have way better than 4K or 8K.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's like baseball is like like you're there, man.
Well, and they've got baseball on their planet because baseball is the greatest.
Because they
game.
struggle to sleep. They got to have some way to go to sleep.
I'm with you, man. It's a way to punish people.
Yeah, in the beginning.
Well, that man, I don't know. It's something I definitely wrestle with, thinking like, if it's on the other planet.
Yeah.
And then the intelligence aspect, then the sin aspect, which honestly, my depiction of an alien is not as a sinner. I don't imagine them going around sinning, because to me, their intelligence level, when I think of it, is so high that that's all they're consumed with really would be the intelligence thing. And my one thing I'd say is how would they know if they've sinned? And I'll pose this question, this not to take us down a whole rabbit hole here, but this was one guy said this to me one time, and he was not a believer, and this was kind of his jab at me. All and right. He was like, he said, so that Indian tribe that's never heard the gospel, he said, if they're saved, I wasn't saying they're saved through ignorance, because I don't believe in that. But he was like, if they're saved through ignorance, then the minister that's going is inevitably sending some of them to hell, because some of them don't believe that he goes and tells. So he's like, by him introducing the gospel, he is sending some to hell. So an alien guy could say, well, if we don't know the gospel, we're saved by ignorance. So I guess that takes us down this brief rabbit hole of, well, how would you respond to somebody that claims, what about the saved through ignorance?
I don't believe that saved through ignorance is
doctrine
scriptural at all. No, basically the way that Paul lays it out, he says that God will make sure that no one has an excuse.
Right.
Yeah.
That everybody,
even the creation shows.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So would an alien see the creation and be like, there has to be a creator?
Would an alien go to heaven?
If they have a soul, and I guess they...
Well, I think it really comes back to this. Is arrogance a sin?
I mean, yeah.
Pretty sure.
Okay, then they're
pride,
they're
right?
all sinners then, man.
Well,
But what
they
if
don't
they're-
know it?
Have you? Yeah, they do. Have you seen the footage? They show up and they're like, "Ah, sucker, you can't catch me."
But
And
what if
all
they're
over
just
the place.
really smart and not arrogant?
That's arrogance.
Could you rebuke an alien in the name of Jesus and it would go away?
All you got to do is look at it and it's gone.
Oh, see, there you go.
Yeah, you can't even catch the sucker, man.
Try to take a picture of them.
Yeah.
I think both of you are making some heavy presumptions here. Yeah, it's like, I know he's got a soul. I know he's super intelligent.
Yeah,
He doesn't have emotions.
arrogant.
I feel like we're the cat and he's the laser pointer, just
No,
all
but-
around the place, jerk.
Colossians 1:16 says, "For by him all things were created, both in the heavens and on earth, visible and invisible, whether thrones or dominions or rulers or authorities, all things have been created by him and for him."
Well, then it's solved. That proves it.
That's it.
All in the heavens, said in the heavens.
Yeah.
They
Whole
would have not
universe.
said planet Xenon because they would have known the name at that time.
No, they would not. But they might have sent a helicopter out there.
Yes.
Heavens with an S. There's three
Yes,
heavens.
that's it. And one of the heavens is the universe.
That's it.
Yeah.
I know.
There you
That's
go.
the thing. So, okay. So where are we going with all this stuff?
Xenon.
We need to go to Area 51 is where we need to go.
Yeah, we're going to go there in a minute.
According to Dr. Hugh Ross, that's not where they're really at.
Where did he say they're really at?
He's in Northern California. There's a base there.
Oh.
Well, California would be kind of where I would think of like a lot of aliens.
You know, my old uncle used to say, living in California is like living in a bowl of granola.
Fruits and nuts.
What ain't fruits and nuts is flakes.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Alan. I'm sorry, Shane. He lives in Fresno.
They would all agree with us.
Yeah, he definitely is trying to move out of California now.
I've spent a lot of time in California. I can
Are
say
you glad
that's
you
true.
left?
I was
Yeah.
one of them, you know, honestly. I was a nut. Anyway, so yeah, and that's a teaser for next week too, because we're going to talk about Area 51 and
All
Northern
right.
California and all this.
Yeah.
It's going to be fun. Okay, so here's kind of where we go with this. First of all, the existence of extraterrestrial beings should not really have any impact on our faith at all.
Right.
It shouldn't have any impact. Like you said, Pat, there's all kinds of things that the Bible never talks about.
Yeah.
Never talks about electricity, any of that stuff. So the Bible, it will still be true. Our faith will be intact. It would not prove random, undirected, godless evolution.
Right.
It would not even undermine the whole concept of the image of God or sort of derail the atonement thing.
Yeah.
Because it's clear that everything in our Bible, everything that we are told about us being the image of God and how Jesus came and sacrificed himself and died for our sins, all of that relates to humans.
Mm-hmm.
Jesus died for humanity.
Right.
So it's really irrelevant.
Yeah.
It's not to say that we wouldn't befriend the alien or share a meal with the alien or have compassion on the alien
Or share the gospel with them.
or share the gospel. I don't know. But that's the thing is, just as we are the image of God and creation, supposed to benefit, shares the benefit of our being the image of God.
Well, you had said something one of our first theology classes. Being settled in your theology. If you find yourself in a place where you're settled in your theology, I feel like situations like this that come up, they're easier to navigate.
Absolutely. And you don't have to, I choose that word carefully because you don't have to be 100% right or even feel like you're 100% right because, we're always growing in our understanding. We're always, but when you're settled, what you're saying is this is what God has revealed to me and I'm confident in it.
I'm comfortable with
yes,
this.
exactly. And then you leave yourself open to grow and change in certain areas.
Well, we've talked about this. How much has your theology changed in the last 20 years?
Oh, I am a different Christian now than I was 20 years ago.
Yep.
And I should be.
Yeah.
And in another 20 years, I should be even different.
And
and I agree with that 100%.
I feel almost like, in a weird way, the more mature you get as a Christian, the less big things like this really rattle you.
And
Like,
notice he said-
and I feel like you become a little more, oh crap. It was like right on the tip of my tongue. I feel like, no, you're okay with things you don't know.
Yeah.
That's what I was going to say. Like the more that I dive into this, which we've obviously a lot of the stuff we've studied now has answered a lot of questions that I've wondered about.
Right.
Because I can say, well, I know what that is now, like, or from what we interpret, this is what I take that as. But also I'm okay with things like, because that's one of the things, like some people they just want to know everything.
I know.
And so they're like, well, how do you explain this? I'm
I
like,
want y'all to
can't.
notice Logan said mature as Christians because we are very immature as men.
As men.
We are very immature as men.
I think it's
Yes.
okay.
Yeah.
I think it's okay. I think
Hey, you
we're.
can't take
Somebody
yourself
married
too
us, right?
seriously. Yeah.
No.
Somebody married us. We're okay.
That's
Oh,
exactly
yeah.
right. We all married up.
We
you
did,
know?
yes.
There's
Yeah.
no
Way
doubt
up.
about that.
Yep.
So that's the whole deal. I think we're perfectly okay being open to the possibility
Sure.
that there is another life form somewhere
Yeah.
in the universe.
Well, it comes down to we don't have it all figured out and never will.
No.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Yeah. And that's what I'm saying. Like, I think the deeper you get into it, it's like, there's just some things we're just not going to know.
Absolutely, until they show up. You know.
Yeah.
But here's the other thing: we can also be confident that everything that is in Scripture and everything that we know about God and we believe about God, and that our faith does not have to be altered in any way, shape, or
right.
form, because
Still true.
you know, if Jesus is the way that God revealed himself to us, to humans on planet Earth.
Yeah.
That's the way God chose to do that.
Yep.
And how he chose to redeem everything. And we also know that being the image of God also includes perfect free will, which means that just as much as we have the ability to love God, we have the ability to reject God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, an alien shows up, we don't know if they've been given perfect free will.
Right.
We have no idea about that.
It's funny as you were saying that. I just had this image. We often try to put God in a bubble, and we got to understand that we're the ones in the bubble. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're the bubble.
Yeah.
We're this small little condensed brain and planet
Yeah.
that's it. That's all as far as we'll go, as far as we'll learn. You know, we try to put this infinite God in this little bubble, and if it's not exactly what we're comfortable with, we fall apart. And like I said, I think that comes back to we have to be settled in our theology. We have to be comfortable with it. That way, because when things come up, and they will, a lot of things along this human existence are going to challenge your faith.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Well,
know
the
what I mean?
universe is so huge. Like, you think, man, God has this vast universe. It's like, why not? He ought to have a little fun, man. I'd create all kinds of weird little creatures out there.
and they might be there.
They might be there.
But that doesn't change anything that we know and believe spiritually, scripturally, or otherwise.
So if an alien came in right now
Yeah.
and sat down and started chatting with us, and we were like, hey, man, let's share the gospel. We shared it with him, and he was like, well, I will accept Jesus as my savior. So is that alien joining us in heaven?
I'd say yeah.
I
Here's where almost what I'd wonder. So if an alien doesn't have a soul,
okay.
they don't have a soul. They're just this being this out
Yeah.
there.
Just a
But
bunch of black dots and ones and twos and zeros and
Yeah,
stuff
like
like that.
it-
Binary.
but he
Yes.
it knows, like, it's got the intelligence. So we explain the gospel to it. Doesn't have a soul, but it's like has the intelligence level to understand. And so then it's like, well, I accept Jesus in my heart. So what then?
So essentially, you're saying it's an organic machine.
Yeah, basically.
But, you know, he couldn't accept Jesus into his heart because your
What
heart.
if he has a heart, but he just doesn't have a soul?
Not a physical heart, spiritual heart.
Yes, that's what I mean. Yeah.
Yeah, but if he doesn't have a soul, then there's no. I mean,
Nothing to save.
So he could only be mentally thinking that he's
Yeah.
accepting
Yeah,
Jesus.
it's kind of like my buddy Claude, my AI buddy.
yeah.
Yeah,
That prays for you all the time.
that's-
Yeah.
Claude's an alien.
Yeah, he might be, but that's what I'm saying. You know, we talk about this artificial intelligence kind of thing, and that's almost kind of what we're describing here, but embodied.
So we'd have to tell our alien buddy when he would say that.
Yeah.
We'd be like, sorry, buddy. you ever heard of the movie All Dogs Go to Heaven? He'd be like, yeah. And I'd be like, well, all aliens, they go to hell.
Yeah.
So.
Like, but what's the next
thing.
wave of microwaves? I need some Back to the Future pizza cooking up in here.
Yes.
Hook it up.
But if he couldn't go to heaven, he couldn't go to hell either, because he never rejected anything.
Well, that's true. That's true.
I mean,
so you just go, you just are there.
Yeah, just, and here's what we don't know too. If God created that being, are they eternal? Do they die? Do they grow old?
Yeah.
We don't know any of that stuff.
So we basically just have to tell the alien, man, sucks. I don't have any answers for you. Go to the next solar system.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Maybe they got some answers
Hope you
for
didn't
you.
travel 25,000 years here for answers, buddy.
Yeah. But what are you good for? How many peaches can you pick in a day?
Yes.
I feel like at that point it's like, look, the faith thing, we can't work with that. Have you ever seen Forrest Gump?
Yeah,
Let's check
exactly.
that out.
Yeah.
I have no idea what all of the implications of this. I just have no idea, and it kind of starts to make my brain hurt after.
Yeah.
That's what. Yeah. The more I'm like thinking about it, I'm like, this is.
I feel like this scenario is more what ifs instead of well thens.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
there's so many questions. Like I'd say this all the time, but I would mean it. I would be made of questions. You know, like I don't know how to navigate this. You know, do you have a soul? What is your purpose? Where are you from? What is your belief? What is life like outside of here?
Right.
Yeah. What if they were like, we'll take you?
like
We
no-
want to take you to our planet
I know
and show
you go. You would go.
No, see, I want to see the stuff from a distance.
Yeah.
See, I would tell. I don't like long car rides, man.
I don't either. I don't want to drive 25,000 years.
Yeah.
Well, and if they came here that quick, our bodies probably couldn't even.
No, and then it'd be kind of like some interstellar stuff where when I'd come back home, all my family would be dead.
Yeah.
For the
Man.
next episode, I have a lot of scientific facts about interstellar travel for us as far as human beings traveling at the speed of light, things like that.
Okay.
Well, but see, I feel like I'd see this stuff and be like, man, wait till I tell Pat and Brother Peter. And I'd get back and the world would be gone because
Yeah.
it'd be like 25. They're like, oh, yeah. And I'd be like, man, I'm supposed to podcast tonight. And they'd be like, oh, man, they died 25,000 years ago.
But also, here's another thing we haven't considered. What if there was more than one of them? What if there was like 50 of them that came?
Man, I have to do a tactical reload.
I was going to say, at that point, I'd almost think that's like warfare. They're coming with a crew.
Oh, no, it's just like those people from our church that go traveling together on buses. They're just out for a little.
That's what I mean. Are
spin.
they bringing pizza, or they got their little ray guns? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We don't know. Maybe they come peacefully and then they have an uprising.
What if I'm the reason they stop coming peacefully?
Yeah, no, I could believe that.
Yeah.
I could definitely believe that.
Like,
It's like,
Yeah.
Pat, don't say anything dumb,
it's like,
okay?
well, I just started a universal war.
Yeah.
Man, I don't know. I feel like a bunch of them came. Well, like I said, we got a lot to cover in the next episode.
Yeah, we
but
do.
I don't like. I'm saving quite a bit. I'm kind of sandbagging on
Okay,
this one.
but
Well,
I
I would ask them, can I see what you drive?
that would be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be cool.
What if it looks like a Plymouth?
I was just gonna say that.
What if it's like
Plymouth?
what if it's like super underwhelming?
It's got the little speedometer with
Yeah.
the needle. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, we haven't had power windows yet.
Yeah, it's like George Jetson was accurate.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so in the time that we have left, I want to now that we've solved the theological questions,
yes, we've answered quite a bit.
Or posed more.
let's talk about some of the ways that we have imagined aliens to already be here.
Okay.
And I don't want to go into the alien encounters at this point because that's a whole different subject. I don't want to go into ancient astronauts too much because that's like a whole other rabbit trail.
Like as far as like aliens living among us.
Or predating us, things like that.
Okay.
So what's your Lazard story?
Oh man, yeah, Bob
Bobby.
Lazar, man.
Bob Lazar.
So
Okay.
I like to point out I was learning about Bob Lazar before he was cool. So I was probably 13 or 14. Somehow stumbled upon some documentary with Bob Lazar, and it might have been like some ancient aliens thing. But I don't know how long that show's been
He's
on.
been on a lot of them.
Yeah, but this was like he had really not made any waves yet, and so I'll give everybody the rundown. Bob Lazar, he he fits the bill of what you think. He looks like a huge nerd, but he was
really does.
Yeah, he was working. He was kind of contracted through this company, and they were doing classified government type jobs, and he started talking about it, and because he was seeing some wild stuff. He said they were getting in this. It was like I think a gravitational type device. It was like a cube.
It was like anti-gravity.
Yeah, and he said that his task was to reverse engineer the technology. They were trying to figure out what this was, and they all were pretty certain it was extraterrestrial in design. And because he was like, there was nothing. And I mean, I don't think they were having any success reverse engineering it. Well, I mean, look, man, I've always said it'd be cool to know what's at Area 51, except it would kill me to not be able to tell anybody. So Bob...
Or they would kill you for you.
Yes. Yeah. But Bob wanted to tell people. So he did confide in some people, and he was kind of revealing some stuff. Well, then dudes in like black cars started following him around, and he's getting really paranoid. So he gets fired, and he went to college. He had all these credentials. All this stuff disappeared. Like there was no credentials to this man's name. No, like the company denied he ever worked for him and all this. Well, through all of this, the journalists and everybody kind of went back. The government, they're not always perfect.
Really?
Yeah, shocking to people.
Who'd have thunk?
But they missed it. This was what really, like, I've heard a lot of alien stories, and a lot of times the whole story at the end of it, you're like, it could be a bunch of malarkey. But the part that gave this one some backbone was the fact that all of his credentials were erased, but his name was still in the directory of the company. Yeah. Like they missed it. I mean, and you can look it up. Like this is legit. Like his name was still there in the directory. And
Good word, by the way, malarkey.
Malarkey,
Good
man.
Job.
Yeah. But
it's underutilized.
That might be the one for Sunday.
Yeah.
I was kind of wondering what it would be. So Bob, and now he's gone really big. He's been on Joe Rogan, almost as big as a podcast as ours, but
almost.
He's been on there and quite a few things. But Bob was kind of the one that started to really, I think, make a lot of people's gears turn, because he wasn't like, I was abducted and probed in the desert,
He's the first one who gave credence to it.
Yeah.
And that's kind of why I wanted to dig up this one right off the bat, because, so there's probably a lot of skeptics out there.
Oh,
like you said, just write it off, forget about it.
Yeah.
And then you hear something like this and you go, okay, I don't know what it is. I don't know how real it is. And even he doesn't know exactly.
Yeah.
Right? He probably's got a couple stories, but all he knows is that he was wiped out because of it.
And why would he be wiped out?
Right.
Like that's my thing. It's like, if there's nothing to this, they'd be like, this dude's a quack.
Yeah.
He just snapped.
And they might fire him for just being weird.
Yes.
And I think we can also say too, no matter if you believe in aliens or not, or whatever your stance is on it, doesn't matter. I think we all can agree that the government, to some level, has had some involvement, whether it be the conspiracies, misinformation, covering it up, whatever. There's been government involvement in the situation.
At least they believe it on some level, or they wouldn't be messing around with it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's that.
Yeah.
And then I wanted to also talk about this place called Göbekli Tepe.
You were talking about this before air.
You were telling us.
It's very interesting.
Tepe. It is.
If I had another kid, I might name him that. That's pretty catchy.
Göbekli. Just call him Gob for sure.
Got me.
So it's Gobekli and then TEPE.
Hold on.
You can
look this up while you're telling.
There's all kinds of rabbit holes you can go down.
Set that kid up for failure.
Yeah, Gob. Göbekli. Göbekli. Oh, Göbekli Tepe. First thing that popped up.
There you go.
Well, nothing else is going to pop up if you start spelling that.
Yeah, that's true.
It's true.
Dang, that is wild, man.
Yeah, it is. It's very wild. It's a real place, and it's in Turkey. And the name means Potbelly Hill, and it's in this little low-level mountain range. It's the highest little peak there, and it looks out over this incredible valley. And the most interesting thing about this is it predates all of the ancient sort of societies that, we sort of tracked humanity. We got the cave dwellers, we got the hunter gatherers, we got the nomads, we got the societies,
right.
the city states. And so we kind of know when that started. We think we used to know, but this predates, and this is like caveman days.
Yeah.
So this predates like Samaria.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yes, it does. And they found this city basically, and they began to excavate, and they're estimating that it is at least 15 acres.
And they found a Plymouth in there. That was like the biggest, craziest part.
Yes. No, what they found was they found at least 4 buildings. They found these circles of what they called T-pillars. And there's just a pillar with a slab on the top of it.
Yeah.
Every one of these pillars has artwork, very elaborate artwork carved in it all the way around.
So it's like a Turkish Stonehenge.
It kind of is. Only it's not nearly as rustic as Stonehenge. I mean, you look
Like
at it and it's much more.
and,
So Stonehenge tried to copy him, but just weren't as good at it.
I think that's exactly right. They didn't have big enough cranes or something
There
like
it
that.
is.
Yeah.
But so they were very skilled artistically. There's pictures of animals. There's human faces. There's little storytelling, and one of the guys that I listened to, he's one of the primary archaeologists there. He said it's clear that they were drawing pictures of people that they knew. It's like they could identify them.
With
It wasn't just a
detail and stuff. Yeah.
And the way it's the figures would be repeated. So it's obviously somebody they knew. And so these pillars are arranged in circles, and I saw at least 2 circles. There might be more than that, but they're just finding things all the time. And they've set up a visitor center. You can actually go and visit the site, and they're all working at the same time. I mean, they're working while tourists are coming in and all this kind of stuff. But they found places, burial sites. So what that suggests is that they actually collected and gathered here and lived as a dwelling. They settled.
Did they find any remains?
Yeah, they found human bones.
Were they like normal?
Far as I can tell.
Yeah.
There was nothing. They didn't mention anything irregular about these bones or anything. And it was interesting too, because at one point they had this theory that at some point they basically shut the site down, inundated it, buried it, and had this. And before they did, they had this big feast because they found all these animal bones and all this stuff kind of in one place. But since then, they revised that theory to just say the hill just slid down on top of it.
Oh man, really?
And everything that was built on top of it, because over time things would be built around it, and it would just sort of over time.
So is it like just this was a slow overtaking?
Mm-hmm.
So did they just abandon the site?
At some point, it appears that they did. Now, I don't know if they just had a landslide and it sort of, covered up most of it. So they're like, well,
Well, and I wonder if, because, I can't remember if you said this on air or off air, but you were talking about the paths of the animals migrating through there. Now, I wonder if maybe, because that was obviously the earth was, a lot of stuff was going on.
For sure.
I wonder if something happened and maybe shifted the path of the animals, so they kind of had to
it's very possible.
pack up and roll out.
And that was what their conjecture is, first of all, they know through historical records and, research that they've done on the valley that there was enormous amount of wildlife. Yeah. There were antelopes and there was some kind of bulls, almost probably like bison or something like that. There were huge herds of them. Yeah. And they would their migration pattern, when they would migrate from seasonally. Yeah. They would come right across there. And so they're like observing this and going like, you know what, we should stay here. We should not roam around because they're going to come to us.
There's probably some cockatrices out there.
Probably.
They get a lot of chicken meat off one of them things. So.
But the other interesting thing is at some point, the valley we know was one of the earliest places where they actually grew grain.
Okay. All right.
They grew this ancient form of wheat called einkorn wheat, and then barley and certain things like that. So
they had agriculture and everything.
Not at this particular time. See, this little settlement predates that, but they know that later on the settlers that came after were able to cultivate the ground.
Gotcha.
That was the earliest signs of farming that we see.
That was the earliest signs?
Among the earliest signs. It's not the only place, but it was about that time that people around the world began to form. They began to have
interesting.
Yeah. So it's really quite mind-blowing. But here's why it relates to what we're talking about here is that there's been a lot of speculation from those who speculate about sorts of things.
The speculators.
Well, because the question is how did they get this, kind of super intelligence, and there's engineering that has to go into this stuff.
Yeah.
But there's no pottery shards. So it's pre-pottery, but yet they were able to, but they made flint knives, and they were able to arrange these pillars. They're very tall.
Yeah, this is straight up Stone Age.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so where did all of this brilliance come from, and this collective mentality? And so there's been speculation. You can find this all over YouTube. Believe me, you won't have to look very far. just
we love you, YouTube.
Yeah, just search Göbekli Tepe and aliens in the same search, and you will find.
I will. I'll go down
3
that rabbit
years
hole.
worth of
my
videos.
gosh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because the speculation is that that aliens made a visit to Earth and landed in a particular spot, and basically, there's two ways of thinking about this, two camps. One is that there were humans already there, and they basically just imparted to them all of this engineering, knowledge, and how it's better to, collect in a community than it is to wander everywhere, and all this stuff. And then they just left and disappeared.
They'll be friendly.
And they'll show you. They'll show you in the videos how that happened, so you'll know,
Yeah.
But then there's another theory that is really kind of interesting that says that the aliens came and they're the ones that camped there, and basically they seeded the humans at least in that area, maybe the whole human race.
So you're saying like a species from above came and mated with the people,
or mated themselves and produced people.
So aliens coming out of spacecraft would look like us.
Right. They might look exactly like us.
Uncle Bob.
Yeah.
Knew it.
Yes. How about that?
What a letdown that'd be.
Yeah.
Some like big wild spaceship lands and a dude comes walking out and he's like, "Hey guys, what's going on?
Yeah.
I'm an alien."
Yep.
Like, no, you're not.
I was here first.
Yeah.
It's very intriguing to think about something like that.
Yeah.
Now, of course, my best friend Michael Heiser would has a lot to say about that, and he says no, that it's kind of a ridiculous way of thinking, because and he goes into. But you remember when we were talking about spiritual warfare series, and we were talking about the gods, and we were talking about the ziggurat and the Tower of Babel and all these other kinds of things, how this would have been sort of a rendezvous point, that the gods would come and they would impart special knowledge and, all these different kinds of things. What do you think about that?
Well, my mind immediately on this is going to when we talked about the fallen angels. Yeah. And they had the supernatural intelligence that they could impart. So that's kind of what I go to.
Isn't every ancient structure in some way tied to the supernatural? Like
absolutely.
Like the pyramids, Stonehenge, and I'm sure this place too with the T-posts.
And here's what the Heiser camp had to say. He had he's got a couple of videos on his website or on his YouTube channel that have these guests, Dr. Joel Burton, and I can't remember the other guy, but they're both very much into anthropology, archeology, all those kinds of things.
It was me. I was on there.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, it was me.
I forgot about that. And
I'm an expert on anthropology.
But they both say that that this has all the makings of a temple, like an ancient temple. In fact, one of the guys said that you would think that they would gather and settle out of convenience and for practical reasons, for food and everything else like that. And then they would develop this religion.
Yeah.
But this appears to
Built the religion first.
In the reverse, that they all sort of gathered together to practice this whatever kind of religion it was, or to have a God consciousness or something like that. And then they kind of thought, well, let's just stay.
Yeah.
And let's let's get the animals.
That is.
It's a little bit mind blowing. So alien activity or just
sure. I'll call it alien activity. Yeah.
Done deal.
Yeah.
All right.
Mystery solved. As I've declared.
It is extraterrestrial, yes.
Yeah, and I only bring that up because it's fascinating, but it is another way that we entertain the idea that there might be some sort of other being out there.
Yeah. Well, there's just, I mean, there is too much stuff that has happened, as you'll hear next week, that for you to just brush it off as nothing. It's gotten to the point now where it's no longer just the weird guy on the fringe that's talking about this kind of thing.
Yeah, I will say this, and this is a little bit leading into next week. There's a guy, Dr. Hugh Ross. He's an astrophysicist. He's been studying this for many decades, I believe since the late 60s. And
expert in psychedelics.
Yeah.
For sure.
And he has said 99% of any UFO sightings have been able to be explained by natural phenomena.
Yeah.
Or whatever has it. I got the list of it. We'll talk about it next week. But he said of that 1%, it's completely valid.
Yes, it's real.
And it is northern of 20 million confirmed.
Yeah.
And so if there's 20 million insane people on this planet, I'm terrified.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That was one of the wildest things he said to me.
I agree.
Because
there's definitely something happening.
Yeah.
There's this real experience.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, because I was a little sad the way he started it, because he's like, 99% of this can be, and I'm like, oh man, bummer. And then he's like, but that 1%, and then
it's 20 million.
Yeah, I'm like,
exactly
okay.
So if 20 million is 1%, could you imagine being the guy that goes through the 99%?
Lord have mercy.
Not?
Yeah, and he's like, that's an airplane.
And that's what he said. He's like, I was the UFO guy. I always had to be like, well, no, this is that, and this is that.
You have cataracts.
Yeah.
You need your
Exactly. No, that's a street light, actually.
Yes.
And so anyway, I just to recap, first of all, we as Christians are totally okay to entertain the idea of extraterrestrials.
Yes.
If you don't want to, you don't have to.
Yeah.
If you just cut it off right now, it's okay.
Yeah, I would welcome the idea.
Yeah.
You just missed that boat.
That's exactly right. And so, but you don't have to reject this on any kind of theological basis.
Correct.
I feel like that'd be, you know what this makes me think of? And like the 90s mom, 90s Christian mom. My mom, she listens to these. She was saying when Harry Potter came out.
I know.
She was like, you can't read or watch that Harry Potter. It's witchcraft.
Yeah. Can we just go ahead and say to everyone now, being open to things happening in the world and in the universe does not make you an unbeliever.
Yeah.
No,
it's not a sin to observe what's going on around you and to think about it. It's not. Us as believers, what we're called to do is look at it through the lens of our faith.
That's right.
And I think that's going to get a lot of people off that worry seat. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's okay to ask questions. That's what we're supposed to do. But where are you seeking your counsel from? That's the thing.
Yeah.
Is look at it through the lens of your faith.
And, next week's episode is going to be a little more theologically challenging than this one.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But if we don't cover this one first, then we're going to get confused by the time we get to the next one.
I don't know if that's a good thing that next week's going to be more theologically challenging than this one.
Well, actually, if we just jumped into next week cold, then it would be very theologically challenging. But that's why I wanted to start here.
Yeah, we got to set the groundwork.
Put everything in perspective.
Yeah.
Because we don't have to if there is extraterrestrial life, we don't have to reject the Bible. That doesn't mean the Bible's wrong. Doesn't mean our faith is wrong. Doesn't mean we have to believe anything different about who we are as humans, or who Jesus is, or what Jesus did for us, or anything about heaven and eternity and all those different kinds of things. All God's words about humans are absolutely true.
That's right.
We can stand on that and we can believe that. And if there's life on other planets, then I'm sure that he will know.
And if Uncle Bob gets off a spaceship in backyard, don't be surprised.
And you're okay, because maybe he's a University of Memphis fan. So there we go. Okay, so I want to leave you with this last verse. Okay, I've been saving this one for the last because I love it. It's Isaiah 51:16. Okay, so I'm going to read it in the Lord's version in ASB 95. It says, "And I have put my words in your mouth and have covered you with the shadow of my hand to establish the heavens, to found the earth, and to say to Zion, you are my people." Okay. That sounds pretty straight up prophecy kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Here's the interesting thing. Because the word establish, okay, I'll read the word behind the word. It will say, "And I have put my words in your mouth and have covered you with the shadow of my hand to plant the heavens." To plant, as in seed, as in to plant the heavens, to found the earth, and to say to Zion, you are my people. What's he planting the heavens with?
Us.
Maybe.
Some say he's sending out some planters.
Maybe there's more than one seed that he's planted the heavens with. And once again, that's the heavens. Mm-hmm. Plural.
Yeah.
So anyway.
So that would actually explain, because one of the questions is, why are the aliens, if they're going around traveling, why are they coming around? And if their quest is like, you go out and plant the heavens, they're out doing it, maybe that'd be...
Maybe that's the 25,000 years. Maybe there's just they live traveling. Seeding planets.
But also, 1,000 years is one day.
That's right.
Maybe it only took them 25 days. Because that's the way the Lord works.
There is no end to the universe. So, maybe they're
still expanding.
Yeah.
But here's the deal. Colossians 1 says that everything is created by God and for God.
For God.
Yeah.
So if there are other beings somewhere, then they have a purpose.
That's right.
And their purpose is
target practice.
There you go. All right. So did we cover everything?
I think so. I think
we wrung this one out pretty good.
Yeah. Like I said, I'm really pumped for next week.
Yeah.
This is good.
Yeah.
So now we know where the Bible stands on it. Now we know where we can stand as Christians. And now we can, we can pray ourselves up for next week.
Yeah. Doug, I'm telling you guys, next week's going to be fun.
Yeah, it is. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah. And like I said, don't be scared to do a little research, look into it. It's because it's interesting at the very least.
We're going to get to know this Hugh Ross guy.
Yeah.
He's a genius.
Yeah, he really is. And I'll tell you what, in preparation, he's got this website. It's called Reasons to Believe.
Yep.
And he just uses science to prove scripture over and over and over again, all different kind of ways.
He's got the receipts for science, let me tell you. He's got...
Yeah, I wrote his credentials down. We'll cover them next week. He's extremely intelligent.
And he is really, honestly, the primary Christian voice in this world, in this kind of, UFOs and aliens and all this kind of stuff.
I would say him and Michael Heiser.
For sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we got them all. He's my second best friend.
Yeah. Michael Heiser said that he's had some of the best theological talks of his life at UFO conventions.
Yes, absolutely. And Hugh Ross has been at almost every one of them.
Yep.
So there you go. All right. So there you go.
Give a thumbs up if you like the King Kong original poster.
Yes.
Give
original poster.
It's hanging out
a gorilla above my head.
Thought it set off the studio just
awesome.
right.
It's really awesome.
Guys, y'all know what to do. Hey, and leave us a rating and a review on Spotify, wherever you listen. Hit that like button. Post your questions, comments below, and we will get back to you.
Yeah, I check the comments. I will troll you. I will speak with you on the comments. It's fun.
For sure. Absolutely.
Awesome. All right, guys. We'll catch you next week.
Next time.